the east side is where like I was at.
Yeah.
Have you guys noticed gentrification?
Oh my
gosh, yes.
In
Center City, for sure.
Wow.
Next topic.
For sure, yes. I drove past there.
I don't want to get on my high horse.
And I'm just
it's okay. It's the Matriarchy. You can get on it.
Yeah, I'm like, I drove past there the other day, and I'm just like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't recognize anything. What's happening?
So how should we develop the town in a way that's healthy for the community? Like, if it's not just major competitive franchises coming in, putting a Starbucks there, and telling like people of color to move. Like, how do we what do you think is like the proper order of things?
Well, first we need more affordable housing because so there are some encampments in Center City, Allentown currently that are going to get evicted. So like these folks, and I don't want to say location because like I'm very sensitive to like keeping them as safe as possible.
Oh, yeah,
so I
definitely.
won't speak location, but there is a major encampment in Center City that is going to get evicted, and it is so frustrating because they have no solutions, right? Like they have absolutely no solutions on where these people are going to go. The current shelters that are in function and working now are completely overbooked and completely not good services for all people, and including like LGBTQ plus folks, Black and brown folks,
course.
folks who are and I try to avoid using the term like illegal immigrants, but like that population as well, like they don't give a fuck about them. So it's real rough out there.
So you're suggesting that we give them affordable housing instead of Starbucks?
Yeah, of course.
Starbucks. That's an interesting argument. It's controversial.
Starbucks is only good for people who want to have diarrhea. Sorry, Starbucks.
Listen, it's overpriced. And all honesty,
yeah, we can afford it, honestly.
I don't honestly see a lot of people, like, I don't want to say like me. I'm just saying, just like, I don't see a lot of people who I've grew up with, like, yeah, I'm going to Starbucks. Like, never. That's never the thing. So I'm just like, what's the point of
it seems like they're
that?
serving a different community than the one that's in the area.
Yeah, and it's not. Right.
Well, they're kind of doing it to push the people who are in the community out
of
and
course.
Then, start a new little, little white downtown.
Even, like, the apartments over there, have you looked into the prices?
Yeah,
it's
so
like
overpriced.
$1,200 for a 1-bedroom, and you're like,
I know, I know what a
crazy.
gentrified building looks like from the outside.
Yes, and you're just like, who's paying for these places?
It's the people that they were trying to bring into the community. It's
ridiculous, and
not the natural community members, but the people that they were bringing in, which are like the beautiful POC. And I love, like, one time I was in Philly and I met this guy. He was like living downtown, and I was like, are you a student? And he was like, no, I just live in the neighborhood. And I was like, how? And he was like, my grandmother owns her house, like, in downtown Philly. And I was like, literally, how? And he was like, she just refused to sell. The schools tried to buy it. The town tried to buy it, and she just refused to sell. And I was like, that is so rare.
That is so cool.
That happens in a lot of areas.
That's cool.
There are a lot of like homeowners of color in Allentown but home ownership happened for them years and years and years ago.
Right.
And so there is this history of like a neighborhood in Little Lehigh where everyone owned their homes. They were Black and brown folks, and then what they did was like give them vouchers to move out. So it was like this. Yeah. So this.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So a voucher is a certain amount of money, and you can take it and go somewhere else.
That's cool. I did not know that.
I don't know if you know what they give the same vouchers out like through. Sorry. My brain today.
No, it's okay.
Like the housing authority does also give those same vouchers out, so you can pay for your own apartment in like the neighborhood and not in a development that they have and own.
Interesting.
So like this is what people were doing, and like now home ownership is just so hard to obtain. So you will see a lot of folks who are like grandparents, like have owned things, but their parents don't and they don't. So it's generational. Wealth doesn't exist beyond Black and brown people. So, yeah, it sucks.
but we're gonna try to do our best to build it. Like, I feel like we're in a nice generation of people who are kind of moving towards like figuring out, okay, fuck these systems, fuck these traditions, fuck how they maneuver, how can we operate outside of them, how can we create structures that can actually sustain us, sustain our families, like how can we be more eco-friendly, things that like generations before us really didn't give a shit about. I feel like we're in a generation of people who, although caring about it is taking a huge toll on our mental health, like we're getting there, we're making strides towards making the world a better place. We just have to, I don't know. Some people say that letting the oldies just like kind of phase through life and move on to the next phase of life will be the thing that relieves us of that pressure to stick with traditions, to stick with institutions that are dangerous for us.
I don't know. I push back on that though, because that's like ageist to say, you know, like to remove old people and remove older generations from like our interactions, and like they also can make decisions as well. I think it's like more collaborative. Like I think we need to collab more.
And when I say older people, I can be more specific. I'm talking about old white men. Like
those can
to be more specific, I didn't want to target you guys, but you guys, you old white men, you gotta chill, okay? Because we want to fucking breathe, we want to live, and you're making us subscribe to all these institutions that are unhealthy for us. You're coming into our communities, you're smashing us out. Like, could you let us fucking breathe? Like, we're creative. We've got like great things that we're trying to do.
Exactly. I feel like what our community also needs more of is a lot of Black-owned businesses, because I know a lot of people now are doing like, especially our age, doing a lot of clothing brands and like want to have like their own food places, and a lot of this stuff is really great, but because rent is so high and there's no places to really go for them to rent out space to actually provide business to the community, they're depleting, you know what I mean? They're depleting, and I feel like that's something that us as POC need to come together and be like, okay, we need to like fundraiser or something, like let's get more Black-owned businesses out there. Yes.
A lot of it is just informing our community too. I feel like making them aware of the grants that they can apply for, making them aware of the resources that they have.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because
absolutely.
I feel like you kind of unlocked that, like for a lot of like people of color, like because I feel like before you started, like at least like when we knew each other, like maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, we were mostly doing art. But then you started doing like more like activism, and you were like moving into like social work. And I feel like you kind of like bridged a gap for a lot of people, like helping people of color in this area understand like that you can get grants. And then you can apply for money.
And it's unfortunate because like now that I know how grants function because of my leadership position where I work at now, like I get very nervous and wary to take on grants. But the great part about grants is that you can write your own deliverables and you can write your own goals. And I think people forget that when they're grant writing. And yes, we're tapping into like white supremacy dollars, because that's what it is, right?
For
like
sure.
When we're applying for grants, we're tapping into white folks' pockets. And I know that for some Black people, that can be very triggering and can bring up some things for
intimidating.
people.
No, seriously,
and intimidating as well.
No,
but the dollars are out there, and you have to you need to put yourself out there. And there are white people that will really understand who you are and your voice, and you don't have to change your voice in order to fit a narrative to get said dollars.
No, seriously.
Interesting.
Seriously.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't have to change your voice into said narrative? Like,
because there are dollars out there that exist for folks who have a particular voice, like for everything. Like, so I have a company called Basement Poetry Trust, and I've done a lot of work to build up the company. Awesome. And one of the things is that like when I'm in business meetings, I don't code switch. Like, I don't act like I'm myself. So like white folks that I'm having these conversations with, like I don't give a fuck. Like it's either you're going to take the poetry I have, the art that I have, or I'm not going to take your dollars, because there are other ways for me to create art. You know what I mean?
Damn.
I applaud that. I applaud that.
I still code switch.
And
like,
I do
sucks,
too.
Not gonna lie. Like,
in the professional space, like I definitely do. But now I can't code switch because I have locks.
There's that.
Like,
you can't code switch your appearance.
Yeah,
There's
you
nothing to do
can.
about
You know,
that.
a permanent hairstyle, you cannot code switch.
And then I also noticed that, like, it's not necessary. It's oppression. It's like a microaggression against ourselves. Like, it's self-hatred that is causing us to code switch. It's really not necessary. I mean, in some places it can keep you safe. Like, not gonna say, like, you know, that code switching doesn't have its benefits. But talking to Black people, especially specifically Black women who are, like, in positions of power, like, even here in the Lehigh Valley, I'm noticing that they're code switching less. And they're making these people make room for them and who they are and where they're from.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
That's honestly amazing because you don't see that often.
Yeah.
You do not see that often. To see, like, a powerful woman of color or even just, like, any woman right now doing anything positive and they're unapologetically themselves, that's a beautiful thing. And I feel like that's something that society kind of pushes out and we kind of don't see it often. We kind of just like, okay, well, I think this is what a businesswoman should be.
Right.
And I'm glad that people are finally breaking that narrative. And
Yeah,
I'm like, thank God, praise y'all, queen.
Right.
Thank you.
Brilliant people come in all
Seriously.
packages. Brilliant women come in all shades. And it's important to recognize that and to embrace that. Yeah. Fuck code switching.